What's a habit that you've kept doing since COVID began? Story 1. Wearing sports bras bralettes instead of underwire bras. I haven't worn a real bra in 5 years and I'll never go back. Answer. So between this and the comfy clothes one, I am wondering how much of this is COVID and how much is just like a bunch of us aging into the I don't give a fudge era of our life. Maybe COVID expanded it, but like my nieces and nephews are still typical teenagers, really no different than I was. But I think maybe young adults got to hit that actually I don't care part of their life a bit earlier. Story 2. Washing my hands for 20 seconds or more after coming back from literally anywhere. It could be my friend's house or my backyard. I just don't feel clean without washing my hands for more than 20 seconds. Answer. I have car hand sanitizer now and always sanitize my hands and my kids' hands after every store or outing and then wash with soap immediately when we get home. COVID taught me that y'all are fucking nasty. We rarely get sick. Bonus, since my son is a COVID baby, this has been instilled in him, and he is excellent about washing his hands at school. He got through all of kindergarten without even a sniffle. Story 3. Installed a bidet on the toilet. We ain't going back. Edit. I use a Woodbridge bidet. Bought a house 3 months before COVID hit and was fine upgrading to a high-efficiency toilet with a bidet to help reduce load on my septic system. Story 4. The same breakfast every day. Started it right in the early days of the first lockdown, and at this stage I'm sure it will be this way forever. Story 5. Saying sorry when someone gets too close, like personal space, suddenly became a permanent personality trait. Story 6. I still use hand sanitizer, but usually only after touching something the general public touches, like a gas pump handle. Story 7. As a lifelong nail-biter, COVID ushered in a new sense of germophobia for me, so since the beginning I have refrained from putting my fingers in my mouth at all costs and washing my hands on an obsessive level. Story 8. Not wearing makeup. I refused to go anywhere without a full face on from the time I was a teenager to around my mid-20s when COVID hit. Quarantine made me realize I wasn't actually doing makeup for myself, and I kind of weaned off it, as weird as that sounds. I only really wear it on special occasions or when it's expected, like a job interview or something. Now, COVID was the worst time in my life for a lot of reasons, but not being perceived for a bit was a reset I needed in some ways. Story 9. House clothes. I keep my outside clothes and inside clothes separate. I can't believe I used to just stay in jeans or work clothes until I went to bed. House life is so much better now. Story 10. Working out. I'm the healthiest, strongest, and best looking I've ever been. COVID changed my life in the best way. Answer. The exact opposite happened to me. I have been and continue to train at home, but I don't have the money or space for serious gym equipment, and without it, I'm still in above average shape. But nothing like when I was going to the gym 2 to 5 times per week and could preacher curl 170 lbs at 156 lbs body weight. I tried to be upbeat about it, but since I started seriously training in 2014-15 and my peak was 2019, imagining what shape I'd be in now. Yeah, it's pretty depressing. Doesn't stop me from continuing to train and try, though. Story 11. I started meal prepping because they closed the cafeterias at work, and we were all getting takeout, which was crazy expensive and unhealthy. Now my lunches are 5, 7 instead of 12, 25, and I can make healthy meals every week. I also stopped going to happy hour after work, but that just resulted in me getting into making my own obscure cocktails at home, which turned into an expensive hobby. So financially, that was a wash. Story 12. Hand sanitizer in my purse and a big bottle in my car. Those gas pump handles and bathrooms must be swarming with bacteria. Story 13. Wearing a mask when the pollen count gets high. I noticed during COVID my allergies weren't kicking my jerk on a daily basis in the springtime when wearing a mask, so whenever I get a pollen alert on my app, I break out the mask. Story 14. My mates and I still have regular video calls on weekends. We started doing so during lockdown, like most people, but just kept it going. Generally, if we're not seeing each other in person, then well, jump on a call at least once a month. Story 15. I work in a hospital and have contracted COVID 6 times. After the 6th, I decided I'm never entering a patient's room again without a mask. Ever since I started wearing them all the time, I haven't contracted any diseases like COVID, flu, etc. When I wasn't wearing them after my hospital changed the policy and didn't mandate them anymore, I was sick every few months. Answer: we haven't stopped masking. The whole household has only been sick once since March 2020, and that was because one person forgot to wear their mask once for a 5-minute walk through a hotel lobby at 2 a.m. before they got a chance to get their flu shot. He caught flu A and passed it to me, because my flu shot was only a week before. The third person in our household didn't get sick at all because they'd had their flu shot a month before. Good thing, because he's medically complex and getting sick is not the best thing for him. Anyway, masking up is awesome. Highly recommend it. Story 16. Wearing a mask at work. I work in healthcare, and after they dropped mandatory mask wearing, though they make us wear them after COVID sweeps the staff, I continued to wear mine as I hadn't had a cold for ages. I'd used to pick up stinking colds every few months and tend to avoid every bug going around work. Plus, I don't want to give my patients any colds or bugs, and it's good for general protection from all sorts of fluids. Story 17. Cutting my own hair. Figured I've saved at least $1,000 in the 5 years. Although that's assume I can still get a Supercuts haircut with tip for about $20, which I assume it's more now, so the real savings are even more. Story 18. I've been much better about washing my hands and not touching my face. I've also been sick much less often as a result. Story 19. Wearing a mask at all time while I'm working. I'm a doctor, and people won't tell you they have a sore throat or a fever till they've coughed right in your face. Story 20. Staying home, avoiding people. Also haven't been sick with COVID or the flu since. By this, I mean I rarely go to concerts now. I don't go to Burning Man anymore, etc. Story 21. Making my own barista. Level coffee at home with a milk steamer, espresso maker, freshly roasted coffee beans, and even syrups and little condiments. I treat myself to a luxury coffee at home every morning now. Story 22. Avoiding people. Oh wait, I did that before COVID, ordering takeout and groceries delivered. Shoot, did that too, pre-COVID. I know life changed for many people during COVID, but I wasn't one of them. Story 23. I do not touch my face at all in public. I'm so highly aware of germs, I just immediately kinda stop myself before it happens. I also try to wipe down my groceries still. Story 24. Bumping elbows with strangers, tote bags, and carrying a mask hand sanitizer, washing my hands more frequently. Story 25. I wish everyone still spaced 6 feet apart in stores. During COVID restrictions, people were talking about how they haven't had a cold in over a year. People learned nothing and now they cough down your neck in lineup at a grocery store checkout. Story 26. I'm a germaphobe compared to pre-COVID. I've always washed my hands regularly, but learning how many people during and after COVID refused to mask up, vaccinate, or sanitize hands made me wonder how many don't wash their hands at all. It's been eye-opening. Story 27. Staying home, always wearing comfy clothes, sanitizing my hands whenever I touch something in public like railings, wearing a mask in public if it's flu season. Not so much a habit as a behavior change, but I also feel like I've lost the art of conversation since lockdown. Story 28. Maintaining distance from people in places, specifically checkout lines at the doctor's office, etc. Also haven't been to a bar or club since early 2020, partially from growing up a bit and not wanting to be in the social scene, partially due to COVID, and mostly because we have 2 small kids now. Oh, and rarely drinking. Some people amped up their consumption with COVID. Ours fizzled out completely. Story 29. Not breathing the air of strangers. Straight up holding my breath, I'm like a short, uncoordinated, black and female version of Michael Phelps. Story 30. Using one of the paper towels at the gas station to grab the gas pump, also keeping a decent-sized bottle of hand sanitizer in the car. Story 31. Hand sanitizer in the center console. Put it on every time I get in the car from somewhere other than my house. Wash my hands every time I get home. Story 32. Flossing daily. IDK why COVID brought it about, but 2 days into lockdown I was just like, I'm gonna start flossing before bed, and never stopped. Story 33. An overwhelming distrust in infrastructure. Everything is running on a razor's edge with global trade and just-in-time production. Anything from a pandemic to a war to a particularly stupid individual can disrupt my life and hobbies. Now I make sure everything I buy is repairable and keep a stock of spare parts that are wear items. I've become religiously right to repair and hoard digital media. I also have a 3D printer and can fix most things. Made some decent money selling bespoke parts that are out of stock or discontinued. Story 34. Buying good quality sleep and loungewear. I used to just wear an old t-shirt and sweats, but now I have cute PJ sets and soft, comfy outfits for hanging around the house. Story 35. Finally, after many years, realizing that work isn't the main priority to my life. When it hits the fan, friends and family are what you need, and work doesn't care. Since COVID, I'm far more relaxed about work. In fact, I've quietly quit to an extent. I was an essential worker in the pandemic. I'm now back to being overpaid parasite on the shareholders. Story 36. Cutting my own hair. I bought a pair of clippers on Amazon and haven't looked back. Saved so much money. Story 37. In my underwear as soon as I get home. I also stopped full-time masking, but I do make a point to immediately mask up whenever I'm feeling a bit unwell or around others who do. I didn't do that before and didn't really know anyone who did. Story 38. Started cutting my own hair. I'm still not very good at it, but am getting better. I also started wearing a lot more hats. Story 39. Staying home while feeling sick. I normally would anyways. Because, common sense. But if I know others around me were sick, and I get sick too, I'm staying home until I feel at least 90 better, and I'm wearing a mask until about a week after I feel back to normal. I dislike taking time off from work because I feel like I'm letting them down, but I have to put myself and my health first. I'm sick currently typing this LOL. Story 40. If I'm unwell, I call in sick to work. I used to be so stubborn about that and not call in unless I felt like passing. Now I don't want to get everyone else sick, so I stay home and they appreciate that. Story 41. Does it have to be a healthy one? 'Cause I may have developed a major screen addiction and IDFK, how to reverse it at this point. Story 42. McDonald's drive-thru. Before COVID, going to McDonald's was a treat for my kids, and we also went inside to eat. During COVID, it was one of the few opportunities we had to be in a car together and feel somewhat normal. It's since turned into a near-weekly thing. Story 43. I wash my hands immediately after I get home, say after shopping. I'm touching the carts, the scanner thing at checkout, etc. Story 44. Social distancing when it comes to being in line at the store. People are getting too comfortable with being too close to you in lines. I just look back to look at them. Like, do they have to stand that close? Story 45. Talking to myself. I didn't work for a long while, especially after my grandma got COVID. She made it, but it was close. So my partner worked and I stayed home and took care of the house. And somehow, in the long stretch of utter loneliness, I guess I started thinking out loud. Just stream of consciousness type stuff. I catch myself doing it a lot now. I'm aware of how weird it makes me look, but it's just way easier to organize my thoughts when I say them aloud, especially if I've got a lot of work on my plate. Story 46. Moisturizing. My hands became so dry from washing and sanitizing every 30 seconds that one day my knuckles started to bleed. Story 47. Full morning routine, changing out of the clothes I slept in and working at my desk in another room instead of bringing my laptop in my bed. When COVID started, I don't think I left my bed for a solid 2 weeks and didn't change clothes once. It was a tough time for me. I barely ate, barely showered, barely took care of myself. Feels so much better now and I want to hug my COVID self. Story 48. Being disgusted by the average person's hygiene habits. Remember how many people in 2020 absolutely lost their shoot when they were asked to follow basic sanitary practices like washing their hands. I was, and continue to be, super grossed out by that. Story 49. Wearing a mask ever since I started, I went from getting sick at least once a year to getting sick maybe every 2 or 3 helps a lot. Story 50. Wash my hands every time I come home. Turns out it wasn't doing much for COVID, but it sure seems like a good way to cut down on novel germs in the house. Story 51. Drinking considerably less adult beverage. I was drinking mostly do-it, just being available and social stuff. But then, once COVID hit, the impetus to drink just vanish and I stopped. I still drink occasionally, but I'm just way more intentional about it. Story 52. I finally stopped having such strong reactions to injecting bleach. Now it's only 12 to 16 hours of pain, but at least I'm healthy. Story 53. Masking in public. The pandemic showed me that most people are fudge disgusting. Having to make videos on how to properly wash hands for adults to view is insane. Story 54. Cleaning my phone with an anti-bac wipe whenever I come home, and washing my hands as soon as I come in. Story 55. Order my groceries online. You'll either pick them up at the pickup or have them delivered. I almost never go into grocery stores anymore. Story 56. Waking up extra early. During COVID, I woke up early to do exercise. Now I do it to get in some video games before work. Story 57. Eating primarily whole foods and exercising. My logic being I'd get over COVID a bit sooner if my immune system was a bit stronger. Story 58. Avoiding large crowds if I can help it, less party attending, especially during cold and flu and COVID season. Story 59. Not wearing any makeup every day. It saves me time in the morning, makes it easier to reapply sunscreen throughout the day, and normalizes my normal face. I never feel like my face isn't good enough without makeup on, or like I need to wear it before leaving the house. I'll still wear it for fun sometimes, but my life feels easier without it. Story 60. Working out. Bought a Tonal Digital Home Gym in Aug 2020, and I've just hit 6 pounds lifted. Best shape of my life, more energy than I've ever had. 10/10 recommend. Story 61. I still wear a high-quality N95 mask if I am indoors with large groups of people or traveling on a plane. Additionally, I still serially test if I begin to develop any cold flu symptoms. If I develop a runny nose or anything like that, I will usually stay home or back out of social interactions with others to not risk spreading something. Story 62. When I'm out in public, I still sanitize my hands when I enter my car and wash my hands with soap and water when I get home. Story 63. I still carry hand sanitizer everywhere and use it often, especially after touching stuff in public. It just stuck with me. I never really cared much before, but now it feels weird not to clean my hands after going out. Story 64. Sitting down to pee, I'm a guy. I've stood up maybe 3 times since. Just to prove I can still aim, LOL, I just find it easier than standing. To think I've partied too hard at least 25 years, standing. Story 65. Mask up when on a plane. Although I have no desire to get COVID, I mask up to reduce the chance of catching anything on plane. They are tubes of recirculated germs, written by people who are usually tired, worn out from travel. Story 66. During the pandemic, I found that wearing a mask has made dealing with allergies a lot easier. I have continued to wear a mask under 2 conditions. I still wear a mask when I mow the lawn and when the cottonwood fuzz is flying. Story 67. I use hand sanitizer on planes and wipe every surface, and mask on planes. Haven't had an airplane cold since 2019. Story 68. The 2 things I have maintained after COVID is extreme hand washing, keeping a mask handy when I'm out in public. Story 69. Not sure if it's a habit, but I started wearing slippers. 5 years later, and I have to wear slippers in the house. I dislike my feet touching the floor now. Story 70. I haven't worn a real bra. I'll wear a sports bra when I have to go out in public, but I refuse to wear one with underwire. Story 71. Working out. Now I go to gym with my husband. We catch up on our days and we hang out before we get home. Story 72. I was always one to touch the least touched part of a door handle to open it and use my sleeve whenever possible. That just further enforced that LOL. Story 73. I text a high school friend good morning every day since COVID. We may have spoken maybe once or twice a year. Now it's a text every day, and I am so proud and happy about that. We just celebrated our 41st high school reunion. Story 74. Wearing a mask on an airplane. I don't care how many aviation experts claim that aircraft air circulation systems have great filters, you are still breathing in the same air as 300 people who may be COVID deniers, vaccine deniers, already sick, etc. Story 75. Masking during med-high flu and COVID seasons, also in very populated areas. The amount of people who still don't cover when they cough and sneeze, as well as washing hands. Story 76. Washing my hands after coming home. I also carry a little bottle of hand sanitizer with me. You'll be amazed how nasty a lot of common public things are. Shopping carts, gas pumps, door handles knobs. Story 77. Being antisocial. I always struggled with it when I was younger and have made great progress as an adult. The problem with COVID, however, is it reminded me how much I like my solitude and me time. I found myself irritated that I didn't get to isolate more than a few weeks before life got back to normal, all while watching others stuck in quarantine for one stupid reason or another. Story 78. Not trusting a lot of authority figures. So many people that I thought were gonna be leaders in a crisis just disappeared in a flash and a puff of smoke when we needed them. Story 79. Wearing a face mask. I don't get colds nearly as often, they help my allergies, and TBH, sometimes I just don't want to be looked at. Story 80. Bra. What's that? I only do FH 2 days per week now. Wear silicone nipple covers when I need to be on site. Also, even if I have to wake up at unearthly hours, 5 a.m., I do my daily exercise in the morning instead of after getting off work. Does wonders to my mood and energy level for the rest of the day. Story 81. Getting high to pass the time. I've become deeply addicted to getting high and consuming media on a daily basis. I used to smoke plant substance, maybe a couple times a month. Now, if I'm running low on plant substance, I feel a compulsive need to get more. The times I do try to quit, I find myself completely bed-rotting because I'm deeply lost and devoid of any purpose and motivation. Hence the plant substance and video games media. I'm stuck in this vicious cycle, and a lot of the days I just want to fall asleep and not wake up. Story 82. I don't share food or drinks. Once someone has taken a bite of something or drank something, it's theirs. No more sharing food for me. Story 83. Not standing close to people in line, not hugging acquaintances as much, hermiting and bed-rotting, or maybe I'm just becoming a loner. Story 84. Avoiding absolutely everyone on the planet except for the 10 friends and living family I actually care for. Story 85. Still side-eyeing anyone who coughs within a 10-foot radius like they just declared biological warfare. Story 86. Wearing a mask if I feel sick. Not even specifically if I fear it may be something serious. If I'm feeling sick and need to go out, I put on a mask. Story 87. Keeping at least 6 feet apart from the person in front of me. Now, it's more like thrust, but whoever is behind me is always up. My jerk breathing down my neck. Story 88. I already washed my hands regularly before, but I wash them especially if I go out in public and touch stuff now. Story 89. I kept a spreadsheet of whatever TV I've watched. Started January 2020, up to date as of today, honestly. Story 90. Haven't worn a bra since 2020 and don't intend on wearing them daily again. Sports bras or bralettes are still worn. To clarify, I have F cups. Story 91. Having inside clothes and outside clothes. Any clothes I've worn outside, even just to take out the trash or check the mail, feel too gross to get into bed with. I can wear those clothes in the house, but I won't sit on my bed or get under the covers wearing clothes I went outside in. Story 92. I've all but given up on dating, probably for good. I'm now on 828 days and counting. Not a single message, email, contact, wink, or view from anyone on the 3 popular dating sites I've been on after COVID eased up, or anywhere else online or in person. This also means I haven't had any physical human contact, with the exception of business handshakes in work meetings, in over 2 years. At this point, I'm not sure if I even miss human contact anymore. Story 93. Obsessively washing my hands after touching something that other people touch. I work in food service, so I wash my hands a lot. Story 94. Wearing a mask. When I don't feel good, when people around me don't feel good, when I'm on public transportation, etc. Story 95. Cleaning my room every Sunday. In order to keep track of weeks and have a sort of rhythm, I started to clean my room every Sunday. It just stuck. Story 96. The moment COVID started, I started spending time alone meditating, a new habit I picked up during the pandemic. My thoughts became more organized, and I was able to relax mentally and gain some much-needed calm during that time. Also, I was committing to a new diet and stricter guidelines revolving around food, which is extremely beneficial to both our mental and physical health. So I decided to prioritize eating nutritious and healthier foods. Everything that I started doing allowed me to achieve greater inner tranquility, and I was able to deal with the challenges that came my way with more composure and handle stress more efficiently. Story 97. I'm not sure if this is a habit, but the one good thing COVID did for me was allow me to work from home. Thankfully, my company isn't one of those requiring